With the recent release of Alien Romulus, I thought this would be the perfect time to finally sit down and watch through the entire Alien franchise. Although I will say I'm not going to be talking about the Alien vs. Predator movies. Those movies are canon to the Predator franchise, so whenever I do a video on that, I'll talk about those movies. I'm going to be doing mini reviews for each of the Alien movies and putting them all on a tier list, and of course, this is all subjective, just my thoughts. You'll agree with some of my opinions, disagree with others, but we can talk about it in the comments. So without further ado, let's talk about the very first Alien movie, which you already know the title of.
Alien. Deep in space, a commercial spaceship called the Nostromo is on its way back to Earth when it responds to a distress signal. Discovering a derelict spacecraft with a mysterious alien egg aboard, they make the very wise decision of bringing it back on their ship because of protocols and whatnot. Once on board, the creature attaches itself to one of the crew, leading to the iconic chest burster scene that gives birth to the titular alien character called the Xenomorph. As it slowly picks off the crew one by one, the last remaining member is Ellen Ripley, who manages to outwit the alien, self-destruct the Nostromo, and barely escapes with her life. Oh, and her cat, too. While I have seen most of the movie before, this was my first time watching it all the way through, and I gotta say, I can see why it is one of the classics. The dirty, retro sci-fi setting is great and makes for a creepy setting later in the film once the Xenomorph starts rummaging about. The Xenomorph is also an iconic design. The gore, it's pretty sparse, but it's used very effectively, and while Ripley is the main character of the series, the movie didn't really make it clear that she would be the last surviving member, so it added some more tension to who will live or die. For the first entry of this franchise, I'm going to give it my rating of great. And yep, I'm putting it way up in S tier for being such an influential film on both sci-fi and horror. Aliens. After drifting in cryostasis for the past 57 years, Ripley is awakened and discovers the planet in which the original alien egg was discovered has since been transformed into a colony for humans to live on. But since contact was lost with the colony, Ripley must join a team of mercenaries sent to discover what happened to the colonists, where they find the planet overrun by an army of xenomorphs. Using her previous alien survival expertise, Ripley and the others must face the horde, protect a young girl named Newt, and fight the Xenomorph Queen. The survivors manage to kill the Queen and enter hypersleep yet again as they return to Earth. You know, I'm glad they took risks with this movie. It would have been easy to just have this be a straightforward sequel with everyone having to hide from the Xenomorph again, but it made the wise choice of having the audience and Ripley evolve together. She's faced the Xenomorph before, the audience has seen the Xenomorph before, so they up the stakes. They add a bunch of aliens, they make it more action-focused than horror-focused, you know, and it takes the strengths of the first film and adds to it, even if there was a lot of behind-the-scenes tension with, you know, James Cameron and the rest of the crew. For that reason, I'm going to give this my rating of great and put it in a very high A tier. I debated putting this in S tier, but I think I'll just put it in A tier. It's pretty much on par with the first movie, but they're very different at the end of the day. Still good, though. Alien 3, but is stylized as if it's Alien cubed, but it's Alien 3. Once again, waking up from her long hibernation, Ripley finds herself crashed on a remote prison planet, and the other survivors from the last movie are dead, which is a terrible choice if you ask me, because it makes the whole last movie feel kind of pointless. But anyway, the prisoners and Ripley are in for quite the shock as they are attacked by a Xenomorph again. The alien starts killing everybody, and Ripley discovers that she's actually carrying an embryo of the alien queen from the last movie. So in order to stop the Xenomorphs and destroy, you know, a potential new queen from birthing, she sacrifices herself. So on top of this movie being overly depressing, it's just kind of the same thing again. Yeah, the alien comes from a dog instead of a human. Yeah, they don't really have weapons because it's a prison planet and there's this half-baked religious element to it, but it does kind of feel like we've just been there, done that with worse characters. And it's especially worse when you hear about some of the older concepts for the movie, like monks in space versus an alien. It just goes a little too far back to basics, if you ask me. So on top of being annoyed by some of the creative choices or lack thereof, I just felt more bored with this movie than anything. So I'm going to say this one is meh. I'm going to put it in D tier. I hear the assembly cut is much better, but I didn't watch it. Alien Resurrection. 200 years after the death of Ripley, a team of scientists aboard a military vessel successfully clone her using DNA that was somehow recovered from the last film. But the catch is, this DNA included the xenomorphs as well, causing the clone named Ripley 8 to be a human-alien hybrid, kinda. It's weird. Anyway, the scientists try to study the xenomorph DNA and have some xenomorphs aboard the ship, but obviously the project spirals out of control. There's a bunch of aliens, and Ripley has to work with some other survivors to stop it before it reaches Earth. This movie is to Aliens what Alien 3 was to Alien, in the sense that it's kind of the same thing again, but not as good, and in this case, much weirder. The tone is all over the place. Characters behave oddly, especially Ripley. Like, I get she's a clone, but she's just a very bizarre character in this movie. It's also really cheesy in kind of a bad way, and it's just, this is the fourth movie now of just underestimating the alien threat. Everyone on board dies. Ripley fights the aliens. Like, if we're just going to do the same thing as the others, can it at least be as good as the others? You know, why are we getting worse? It feels both repetitive and yet another step backwards. Honestly, I think it's bad, and maybe this is harsh, but I'm just going to throw this in F tier. I do not care about this movie at all. Prometheus. Long before the events of the first Alien film, a team of scientists embark on a journey to a distant planet after discovering an ancient star map they believe points to the origins of humanity, with links to a group called the Engineers that they believe created life on Earth. As they are slowly picked off one by one due to the creatures there, changes in DNA caused by this black liquid secretly given to the crew by the android David, they've been facing an engineer that wakes up and starts trying to kill everybody. Crew member Shaw is the last to survive as she escapes, and we see the birth of a proto-Xenomorph, which is significant, I guess. I know this isn't the most well-liked Alien movie, but I gotta give it props for doing something new and feeling like it has something to say. I don't know if I'd say the ideas are perfectly executed or anything, and most of the characters are complete idiots, but at least it's not Ripley for the 100th time. The aliens are different. It aims to push the franchise forward in a meaningful way while being its own movie, which is something all sequels, or in this case, prequels, should aim to do. I say this movie is okay. I'm just going to put it in C tier. Alien Covenant. Sometime after Prometheus, a colonization ship find a remote planet seemingly ideal for settlement, only to find the android David having survived the last film and gone deranged, obsessed with creating new life through horrific experiments of the planet's inhabitants. As the crew fight off new creatures such as the Neomorph and the Praetomorph, they believe all is well and David is defeated. But it turns out he survived, and he tricks the others into entering stasis. He resumes his expedition of their ship, which not only carries human embryos, but now, thanks to David, has some facehuggers on board too. There was supposed to be a follow-up to this, but it got canceled, so a lot of setup for nothing. Because Prometheus didn't do super well at the box office, this movie was changed to be more like the others. Shaw and the Engineers are removed, and we get just another basic alien movie. And having David be the creator of the Xenomorphs because he's mad at humans is dumb too. And yeah, most of the characters are pretty stupid. I don't know if I hate it. It's well shot, I guess. It's got some Xenomorph stuff. It's meh. I guess it's meh. I'll just throw it in D tier. It's just an alien movie, and not a really good one. Alien Romulus. Set between Alien and Aliens, this latest entry in the franchise follows a young group of scavengers heading into the abandoned Romulus spacecraft floating above their harsh colony that they live on in order to salvage and scrap some stuff to improve their circumstances, but they end up encountering aliens, a lot of facehuggers and a Xenomorph and some other stuff I don't really want to spoil, but one in particular that is very creepy looking and connects to one of the older movies. But if this sounds familiar, it's because the plot is basically the same as the first two Aliens. And that's where I'm kind of feeling a little mixed on the movie. I do like it, and it's well made, but it feels a little too much like a throwback to the first one. And the first one still holds up incredibly well to this day. It also has callbacks to some of the other movies, like I said, in unexpected ways, so it's cool that they don't just ignore everything. It feels like a mashup of the best hits from the other Alien movies, but it feels very much like an Alien movie you've already seen. All that said, I'm going to give it my score of good, and I'm going to put it in a B tier, which is good. It's good. The movie is good. I wouldn't say it's mind-blowing or anything, but it's a good movie.
That's all of the Alien movies ranked and reviewed. It's definitely one of the movie franchises. Look, I'll tell you what. The first two, super strong. Then it kind of dwindles a bit, to say the least. And then Alien Romulus was pretty good. It's a very divisive franchise for a lot of reasons. I just share with you my opinions. Share with me yours. And I'll see y'all next time as I do other kinds of movie reviews, other kinds of gaming stuff. You'll see. But until then, take care.